Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So, let's get into today's study. We are still in the book of Matthew, and we're talking about the Sadducees and the Pharisees. And so, Jesus is in the temple, and he spoke with the Sadducees about the resurrection. That's what we talked about last. And so after he answered the question to the Sadducees, it says in here that the Pharisees heard about it and that Jesus silenced the Sadducees. And so then they came to test him. So let's start in chapter 22, verse 34. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. And let me just say who the Pharisees were. They was a sector that was not really they wasn't on the political side like the Herodians. Um, they are let me see. Okay, their main purpose was to preserve the traditional Judaism. The Judaism religion, they believed in spirits, angels, and the resurrection. Now, they let's see, they insisted upon the literal interpretation of the law. So they would upheld the law. John the Baptist denounced them as a generation of vipers. In his time, when he was doing the baptism, they had came around. And Jesus describes them as hypocrites. And that's in Matthew 21:27. But here they are again to ask Jesus more questions. So then one of them, oh, we're in chapter 22, verse 35. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? And Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Verse 38 says, This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Verse 40 says, On these two commandments being all the law and the prophets. Verse 41 says, While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, saying, What think ye of Christ? Whose son is he? They say unto him, The son of David. 43 says, He saith unto them, How then doeth David in spirit call him Lord, saying, Thy Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou on my right hand till I make thine enemies thy footstool. If David then called him Lord, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word, neither durst any man from that day forth ask him any more questions. So let's stop there. So they ain't had no more questions to ask him. It says from that day forward. And so it was talking about David being in the spirit, having this knowledge that Jesus is Lord, but in the flesh knew that Jesus came in the flesh unto the earth. So what I'm gathering in this chapter altogether is that, with Jesus always about his people. And if you're not in your heart really sincere about being a shepherd, it's like you're being the shepherd here on earth to lead the sheep, into the pasture. Yeah, the pastor, like Pasture. um, so he's talking to the Pharisees and scribes, and sure the Sadducees had their fill of it as well, but it mentions the Pharisees and scribes at this time. And so there is a lot more in verse 23 about the practices and things that they have done. And then, so we're just going to jump over to 24 really quick. And chapter 24 is about the end times, because after Jesus left the temple talking to the Sadducees and everything, then and if in 23 it's a lot more things, but we pretty much got the gist of the corruptness that they were doing, the wickedness that they were doing in that time. And so in verse 24 it says, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another, and shall not be thrown down. And as he sat up on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So he was telling them about, in verse 2 about destruction coming, and they're like, when it's gonna happen? And he said in verse 4, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Pay attention, take heart, that no man deceive you. Verse 5, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So the wars and the rumor wars is being prophesied that these things will happen before the end time becomes the end time. And so then it says, for nation shall rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. So and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And so it's going to be, destruction up on the earth, and chaos, really, like people coming up against each other in their own country, in their own city. And then, then countries coming up against each other and things like that. It's going to be an unrest, unsettling. And so I'm not sure if I want to go through all of these unsettling things. So we're going to skip over to chapter 25. But if y'all want to read that, that is what he's talking about in chapter 24, that he's giving them, the signs, and to, pay attention and see when these signs are near. But he also says, I think before that chapter, he says something about no, no man, no. Oh, here it is. In chapter 36. No. Chapter 24, verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not, and not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So the only person that knows of this end time to come, when that day come, that the Lord, the Son of God, is going to be having his day of judgment, justice on the earth, revealing the secrets of men, everyone. Then only the Father knows that. And so there will be, it was saying that, people will, he was warning them to pay attention to this, take heed to this, because there are going to be many like the day of Noah, when destruction came up on the earth with the flood. During that time of Noah, it rained. I think it was 40 days, 40 nights. So, yeah, so people are still doing their daily thing, not paying attention. And he was saying that, it will come like a thief in the night, and you would not know when that hour is, and let's see, let me see if I can find it here, where it says, therefore be also ready. This is in verse 44 of chapter 24. For in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. 45 says, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give the meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. So what will you be doing in that hour? So it's better to have good practice now than to let that day sneak up on you and you still doing these things that are not pleasing to the Lord. And so the Lord of the servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him. The Lord of that servant shall come in the day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of. When you ain't paying attention, when you cut up getting loose, and it's unexpected. And shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in chapter 25, it talks about, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom, which is Jesus. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 of them were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. So they was not prepared. They got lamps, but ain't nothing to go in the lamps. They empty. They on E. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. So they were prepared. They were watching. They were paying attention. They was ready. They was in practice. And they were excited, While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. So having this slothful, sleepy, you know, um, um, spirit and not, arising to the occasion. So, chapter 25, verse 6, it said, "And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. O ye out to meet him. Then all these virgins arose and trimmed their lamps." So they got their lights ready. Let's go looking for him. um, and the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. So they're like, We want to prepare, Lord, for you to come. Hold up, I'll be right back. So in verse 10 it said, And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. So at the beginning of chapter 25 it says, Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. So when I think of virgins, I think of, purity, like, a pure heart. And so I'm just thinking, like, you know, the five, so half of them were ready and half of them wasn't ready. And so then he came and he shut the door. So they're going to the marriage, and so Jesus is the bridegroom. And it's like when you enter a marriage, like here on earth, that is how you enter a spiritual marriage with the Lord Jesus. And there is going to be a celebration, and uh getting back together, like as you go to a marriage and you're celebrating, because it's going to be the marriage that of the heirs of the kingdom. The ones who came late, who wasn't ready, the door was shut, and it was like you knocking but you can't get in. So it's like, get yourself ready. If you're ready now, are you in the process of being ready for his return? Then you'll be ready when he comes, and you won't miss the celebration. So with that being said, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, concerns, um, leave a comment, um, leave an email, and see you next time.